The United States and Europe have ratcheted up sanctions against Russia. I mean, they're really even getting personal, going after Putin's daughters.
Responsible nations have to come together to hold these perpetrators accountable. And together with our allies and our partners, we're going to keep raising the economic cost and ratchet up the pain for Putin and further increase Russia's economic isolation.
There are threats to China if they assist Russia with getting around the sanctions as well. The U.S. is provoking an economic collapse in Russia by having the Treasury block Russian bond payments, trying to raise the risk of a Russian default of debt.
U.S. is building the financial pressure on Russia. Now, after imposing financial sanctions against or following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, U.S. is acting to eat into Russia's holdings of U.S. dollars. In the latest, the United States has stopped the Russian government from paying holders of its sovereign debt more than 600 million U.S. dollars from reserves held at American banks. U.S. has already frozen the foreign currency reserves held by the Russian central bank at U.S. financial institutions in the aftermath of Russia's invasion of Ukraine on February the 24th.
Again, this is all about fiat currencies, but this is also war moves as well. Pushing a country to economic collapse are just movements of a financial war. This is how wars escalate. But even more important than that, we are at a time where the Federal Reserve and other central banks around the world are signaling the slowdown and retreat from their easy money principles since 2008. They are raising interest rates and tightening their monetary policy. So just by this action alone, we should all be bracing for a hard economic impact. But because the news is not pushing us to move, and many people don't really understand how important the Fed interest rates are and what an actual tightening means, people are just very still asleep. You see, the news could handle it though and prepare people. When COVID hit, the news was able to make everyone so scared enough to put the mask on. But right now, they're not getting people properly ready for problems that are easy to see coming. Listen, one of the biggest indicators of a recession that we have here in the United States is blinking, flashing red. The yield curve of the United States debt has inverted. This means that the yields on short-term interest rates are higher than the yields on long-term interest rates. Short-term interest rates are higher than long-term interest rates. Understand, normally a lender receives a better yield when they loan out money for a longer period of time. So traditionally, you would get a higher return if you loan out money for 30 years rather than for 10 years. But now the yield curve is inverted. And when the yield curve inverts, it's because people are selling short-term debt because their short-term view is that problems are on the horizon. The inverted yield curve has been an accurate predictor of recessions for almost 50 years or so. But yet again, the public does not seem like they're ready for a recession. Mortgage demand is down more than 40% from a year ago. The 30-year mortgage rate hit over 5%, a rate we haven't seen since 2013, while home prices are up 20%. So the mortgages on inflated priced homes are higher than ever. These are massive economic signals of a major economic slowdown that is on the horizon. But again, the public is not ready for this. And I believe that the reason that most people are able to be asleep is because they believe truly that at some point the government is going to step in and fix their problems. They're putting their lives in the hands of the government. And I make these warning videos to make sure that you understand you cannot do this. You cannot do this because there is way more to the story than what most people are understanding. You see, when looking at this, most people may want to look at it all from a secular point of view, which helps them believe it will all get worked out. But it's important to understand that this is not just a secular issue, but it's also biblical as well. The Bible prophesies of these events, which is why people need to read and study their Bibles. The fact that the Bible has prophesied of major inflation and food shortages should be very telling of the times that we're all in. This is all prophesied in the opening of the 7 seals. This is when we see what is referred to as the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.